We're live. Okay, it has happened. Amazing. We were killing time because we realized that it takes like just a second for authentic hustle. So we got like the elevator music going. Do 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 do. Welcome everybody to Authentic Hustle number 15. Colin and VJ, congratulations, guys. 15 shows. I don't know how in the world we've done this 15 weeks in a row, but here we are doing it again. And it's had evolution. You know, the show started out very different than it is today. We were initially kind of trying to bring 4 topics and realized that, holy crap, this is taking like an hour to get through on a Wednesday. And we get it. You guys are super, super busy. And so we went back. We went to the Hustle Cave.
Yeah.
And we revamped it. And now we have what is modern authentic hustle. And VJ, lead us into it, buddy. What is our topic for today? Bring up the spinneroo.
Hey everyone, welcome. Let's go spin the wheel today.
Last week, in case you missed it, we were talking about failure and how to recover from failure. And so if you're looking for some motivation today as well, and you enjoy this episode, hop on over to our Authentic Hustle YouTube channel. Give us a follow and a subscribe. We appreciate it. And check out, our past 14.
Spin that wheel.
Spin that wheel. Put in the super code.
So we have 3 topics as usual, first one on sustainability. What does sustainable growth actually mean? Topic 1. Topic 2 is what's the ROI of showing up on social, marketing, social media. And third topic, universal basic income, economic savior or disincentive to work. That's a category on economic policy.
Okay. I kind of feel like I want to push this over to Colin today because I think, we chose the last couple. I want to put it on Colin to choose which one. I think they're all great topics. All
not 3.
Different levels of understanding from each of us on all of them.
Okay, not 3.
Not 3.
That's above my pay grade.
Then which one? The other 2 are awesome. I don't think you can go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, I would go with the ROI of showing up on social.
Oh, I love that. I love that one, Colin, because we're doing that right now.
Great topic.
I know, and you're challenging us as well to do another one. So, okay, let's go with that.
All right.
Let's go.
Okay.
What's the ROI of showing up on social? Marketing, social media, all of that. That's today's topic.
I love that. Okay.
All right.
Well, I have my thoughts, but Colin, you picked it. Kick us off. What's the ROI, buddy? What is your experience actually? Instead of ROI, what has been your experience over the last 2 years of showing up like nonstop on social media?
Well, I'll go back to a conversation I had with friend / I don't even know what. He popped in to see me this morning quick. And I had that conversation and it was based on, he was asking me a few questions about sales and how we do it and how we meet, how do we actually reach out to our North American customer base? And my answer was social media first, and then humans second. And that's the reality of it is our reach, we can go further faster through social media. And I think, it's basically every time you post, you're going to get a reminder that if you post every day, you're going to get this. If you post twice a day, you're going to get this. If you talk to Kelly, he says post 3 times a day in person on video, which I still don't do. So maybe I'd be busier if I did. Right, Kelly? But the reality of it
3
is,
times a day, 3 times a week. If you want to post 3 times a day, you go to town, bro.
So the reality is, like, for my one business, I'll use Hypervac. We literally do substantial sales due to our social media presence every single week. So our ROI is exponential when it comes to that. Whether it's our LinkedIn presence is getting larger, Instagram, TikTok are amazing for our company. And one thing it does for us is, we're a large company, but we look a whole lot larger because we don't know that audience, where they're looking from or what they're seeing. And they don't go, oh, they're from Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, or they just look at it like they're across international borders. So that's my first, put my toe into the water here. That's my stab at it. It's phenomenal. Do I put a number on it? No. But would I ever go away from it? No. The other thing is, I read an article this week. Warren Buffett had, I don't know if Warren Buffett ever has written an article or somebody just says he did and they put his name on it. When he bought Geico, when they bought Geico, he said there was some weird number. They're doing $88 million a year in advertising. And somebody said, we're going to have to clamp down on that. That's absolutely ridiculous. And he said quite the opposite. No, we're going to have to ramp up if we want to be a major player. So I think it was something like 10 years later, they were spending $880 million a year on advertising, and they were now the third largest player in the insurance industry with Geico in the US.
Wow.
So how do you do that? Advertising is social media, is your social presence. More, it's not print, right?
Well,
so when I look at that as well, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, frick, man. Like, I don't know. For me, it's been absolutely everything. And it was a journey that I kind of had to go on from square zero because I showed up not knowing how to utilize social media at all when I launched the Business Development Podcast. And so kind of through social media and me learning how to utilize it effectively to build both my personal brand of Kelly Kennedy and the brand of the Business Development Podcast and the brand of Capital. Honestly, I can't think of a better way at this point, paid or unpaid, to spread, your influence, to get brand awareness, to reach millions of people, for honestly pennies. Really, when you really think about the true value of.
We lost your feed, Kelly.
Oh goodness. Okay, hold on. I don't know what in the world happened there.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'm back.
You're back.
I don't know where we went, but here we are today. Perfect. Yeah. So sorry. Like it's been incredible. And for me, it's been a learning experience as well. But when you think about social media and the true value for you as a person, it works even when you're sleeping. Look, I don't care how great you are at marketing, how good of a business developer you are. You're only up working for probably 8 hours a day max. And that's assuming you're working full time. Every time you post something educational, valuable for people on social media, that works day in, day out while you're sleeping and for months and months and months down the road. People still comment on posts from months ago, 6 months ago, right? People are still seeing stuff that comes out from the Business Development Podcast from me, Kelly Kennedy, 6 months later, and they're still gaining traction, right? I can't think of a better way to spread the knowledge of who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, what your company does than utilizing social media. But, you have to learn how to utilize it right. I think the ROI comes from making sure that you are dedicating the time to it, that you're learning how do you use LinkedIn properly? How do you set up your profile pages properly so they get more engagement? What is valuable? Because I think at the other side of it too, you have to make sure that all of the content you're putting out is valuable to other people. How are you educating them? How are you inspiring them? Are you giving them stuff that is valuable to them? And if the answer is yes, it will spread and it'll spread like wildfire for you.
Okay. Do you mind, Kelly, I know you've done it before, but not on this show. Can you explain what impressions means or how that works on LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. So impressions, you probably see them on your pages. Whenever you put out a post, it might say you got 100 impressions on it. You might have 2 likes or 4 comments for your 100 impressions, right? Impressions is different than engagement. And, I recently learned this myself. So this isn't something I've known forever either. I kind of did a deep dive into it for the Business Development Podcast a while ago. And what I learned was engagement is typically about 4% of your impressions. And so to my companies out there who have large company pages, that's great. But if you're only getting 100 impressions per post or 200 impressions per post, you're probably only getting between 4 and 8 engagements. And it's probably engagements from people who already know who you are and what you do. So not quite as valuable for you. What I always recommend to businesses right now, if you guys are doing corporate posts, right? Doing corporate posts on your page is great, but it's not enough. I think I saw a thing the other day that said that corporate page growth was absolutely stagnant on LinkedIn. Nobody's corporate pages are growing. You have to leverage the power of LinkedIn or the power of whatever social media you guys are using. And you have to start utilizing groups and things like that to really spread the name of your company, because just posting on your company pages is not enough. We need to be looking as companies, I think at this point, to try to average somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000 impressions a week. And we want to be getting those impressions from new locations, from people who've never heard of your company before, so that you can start to spread the word and get that brand recognition far and wide. But yeah, very different, right? Like it's way more than I ever thought too, right? Like at this point with capital and with me, I'm trying to average 20,000 a week.
Okay.
Right.
So that's total across the board.
That's total across. So that would be Kelly Kennedy specifically, because I'm typically sharing posts from the Business Development Podcast or from Capital Business Development, right? So it's on an individual level, but I also post in up to 20 groups a week. And that allows me to kind of spread the word far and wide on the Business Development Podcast and on Kelly Kennedy and our coaching programs and Capital Business Development. But if I was just to do that on my own, I still have quite a few followers. Like I have 20,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is no slouch. But those people know who I am, right? Those people see my posts every single day. And while that's great, I need to make sure that I'm reaching new people all the time. And so leveraging LinkedIn groups, guys, if you're not doing it, start doing it. It's absolutely major for your business.
Every time I interact with Kelly, I'm learning more about business development. Man, with every phone call, and with every authentic hustle, absolutely. I'm no expert on social media at all. I started this journey much recently, starting to post and whatnot. Just bringing back some experience, comparing apples versus trying to compare the traditional world with the current social media world, right? What's the ROI of showing up on social media? If that is a topic, I used to work for a startup in the Toronto area, right? So it's a traditional startup, a lot of C-level execs, very traditional way of marketing, and they thought the best way to probably market the product was to go on CTV, go on global news, and and they did, and they spent millions of dollars to be on the prime time and everything. You know what? It was not a big success. The campaign was not a big success, and even though they poured millions of dollars on it, I think what people are missing is quote unquote authenticity, if you will. I think the show rhymes perfectly with authenticity, because the reason, Kelly, I mean, I could be wrong here. The reason the companies are not, the brands are not growing as much, for the brand pages, the company pages are not growing as much, is because people have seen that kind of marketing from the traditional medium for a long time, right? On the newspapers, on TVs for a long time. What they're yearning with the why is because they're actually looking for authentic voices of people. I think that is missing. And because every time when you're trying to post, I was trying to understand what is it actually. I think the more I not post about me and more I post about how is this post valuable to the person reading it?
Yes.
That seemed to be an eye opener, because even if they're spending 30 seconds or 2 minutes on a post, if it could be of 1 cent value, I think that could go somewhere. Maybe a personal story, how it impacts them. I think that's more important. Okay, because we could be doing 100 things, but if we keep marketing, I think people are not responding to marketing as much. They're responding to authentic messages. If you're the founder or the CEO, if you're the decision maker, if it can come directly from their voices, that's what they're looking for. Even Elon said once, in terms of the leaders and the thought leaders, everyone try and post yourself as much as possible instead of giving to a social media writer or something like that, because it could be wrong or incorrect on certain times when you're posting, but it'll be your voice. It'll be your authentic voice. Because most of the leaders things, we know they're not writing it. Even Buffett, you mentioned, there's a high chance he didn't write it either. So that is one thing that is missing. The other thing I'm also learning is each medium is also slightly different. LinkedIn is very different from Twitter, for example. The game is different, and Twitter is very different from a TikTok. For instance, I'm not on TikTok, but I'm trying to understand and compare and see. And Instagram is a very different machine altogether. So people are there in these different mediums for different reasons to attract different kinds of audience.
Yes.
And so that's the game I'm learning. I think it's extremely rewarding. And if you could just be out there and be yourself, I just want to quote Naval Ravikant. He said, be out there. And if you want to escape the competition, just go out there and be yourself. I think that's the way to escape the competition, because no one can beat you at being you. No one can beat you at being you. Right. So that's what I want to share.
Well, and I want to share a lesson about marketing, because I think that's maybe the important thing about people are asking for what is the ROI on social media. If I told you the answer was probably nothing in dollars and cents, I'd actually be right. Social media doesn't typically sell shit, right? I think people forget that. People forget that marketing doesn't sell. Marketing is not sales. Marketing is about building brand recognition and interest in your products and services, okay? you still need a touch point. You still need to physically reach out to somebody. But what it does is it makes them aware of who you are, who your company is, why they might be interested. They might actually see one of your corporate posts and be like, man, that's friggin' amazing. But if nobody follows up with those people, if nobody reaches out to them directly and says, hey, do you follow us on LinkedIn? Is that something would this be valuable to you? Would you like to book a meeting to discuss it? Likely nothing is coming from it, right? Like, unless you're selling B2C, if you're selling like, a sweater or a t-shirt, sure. Someone might see your social media post and be like, that's awesome. But it's also $100, right? If you're trying to convince somebody to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, I don't care how many news ads you put out. I don't care how many CTVs you end up on, how big your advertising campaign is on social media. You still need a human to human interaction to close that deal. So like, don't think that you spent, let's call it $10,000 on Instagram ads and it should just turn into 8,000 people calling your company. Yeah. That's not how it works, at least not in my experience.
Well, Kelly, do you mind if I chat quickly about what we chatted about the impressions this morning?
Absolutely.
So VJ, I'll let you in on this too, and everybody else listening. May the 4th, every year is significance to me. It's the day I got fired from my corporate job, 2017. So for whatever reason, because of all the May the 4th jokes out there, May the 4th be with you, it was with me. Anyway, so I made this post on LinkedIn that day. I was sitting by the pool on vacation, and it was authentic. I just wrote it, and I'll quickly read it here real quick. Just it has some impact, and I didn't realize it. It just says, 8 years ago today, I got fired. May the 4th, 2017, I still remember walking into the boardroom. My boss, his boss, no smiles. I knew what was coming. 17 years at that company, gone in minutes. No severance, no goodbye lunch, just a call to a friend for a ride home after handing over the keys to my company truck. And yet, somewhere deep down, I knew this would be the best thing that ever happened to me. Fast forward 8 years, I'm now a partner, blah, blah, blah. 100% authentic. Am I going to hit post? And I did. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. I didn't call out a company. I didn't call out a person. It wasn't about that. It was about how this propelled me into the future. As of today, 16,449 impressions, 50 comments, 4 reposts, 325 likes or whatever.
And that's in less than a week, right?
Yeah, that's in less than a week. That is on top of multiple messages that I'm getting from people, all C-suite people. This is very timely for me. Thank you very much for posting. The odd part of it was the 8 years that have passed, literally 0 people in my sphere at the time reached out to me and ever said anything other than, I just disappeared.
Yeah.
Including the CEO of the company actually commented on there and said, good to see you're doing well, and that it was the push you needed. And it was kind of odd, but we don't know the impact that we're having when we're authentic. And
yes.
VJ, I think that's what you were saying as well. People, or Kelly, you were as well. Your social media ROI doesn't necessarily come from, I post the greatest thing that I think is, or requote this, Warren Buffett, because some of those just fizzle out and burn out in the weeds. And then you post something authentic. And even last night, I got a message from a fairly, I would say, successful person. She teaches in universities and all over. And she said, hey, I think we're overdue for a coffee, and on and on. And I really loved your post. And I just thought, I'm just sitting here, and it's my reminder every year, and I've never posted about it. And it helped me, but I never thought it would have the impact it did. So that impact, I believe, comes back to you in your business, in your life, and in your reputation, if you will. Right? Because what could have been a super negative thing.
Everybody in this room right now met through social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I met both of you through social media, reaching out to me about the Business Development Podcast. We would have never connected had I not been part of social media, and look where it goes. So ROI.
Well, and you know what I love about that, and I talk about it often in my sphere, is I often will say, well, I have a friend, or my friend Kelly, or my friend VJ, and I use real life situations that, conversations we've had with each other, and other people though, like from other countries. And I think it really brings the world closer. And there's so many more positives to me than there's negatives in the social media aspect. Yeah, why would I even be talking on here today if it wasn't for that.
Well, that's it, right?
It's amazing.
Like, it creates connections. I think that was maybe the most surprising thing about launching my own podcast. And obviously, part of launching your own podcast is marketing your podcast, right? So, pretty soon after launching the BDP, we launched the BDP LinkedIn because that was my world. That was kind of where I was doing this. But, I hadn't really used LinkedIn very well. I used it, right, but I hadn't really used it very well until I launched the business development podcast. And it kind of changed the whole way that I utilized it. And now, man, it's like, it's an invaluable tool. Yeah. I've met people, like you said, around the world. Like every day, Colin, somebody reaches out to me from somewhere in the world, whether it be like Israel or, like you name it. Like it's everywhere. It's like across the whole world, we have people reach out to us. It's crazy. It's crazy when you think of the power of social media.
Yeah, I think if I can encourage anybody as well, is I think as a human being, we stop and we say, no, I'm not going to post that. I'm not going to say that, because I've already said it, or they've all heard this over and over and over. Well, no, we haven't, right? And who are we? We don't know the reach we're having. And I'm saying people that I read, right? The reach they're having, the things that impact my life and I can forward on or use for my life and use as an everyday tool or, for the next minute, day, hour, whatever it may be. I think that's the ROI of social, right? It's being able to grab something and take there's so much out there. We can continually take what's for us or what's for me for today or what I need. And in business, I think sometimes I'm like, wow, we've already said that. We've already done that. Yeah, guess what? Well, the person that we need to reach today wasn't looking yesterday. Yeah. Wasn't looking last month. So it's not like the old brochure, right? That needs to be updated. We can update it every second, right? It's live. It's a living, breathing document. Social is moving. It's moving every second. And it's similar to AI. They say if you're not in it, you're behind. That's social, right? If you're not doing it right now, you're behind.
Okay. We have people listening right now who maybe they're watching, they utilize social media, they consume it, but how can they get more from it? I think maybe that could be a great way to end today's show. And I want to talk to each of you on that because you're both very knowledgeable about how to utilize LinkedIn and social media in general. Colin, you first. If you were talking to somebody who didn't know how to utilize social media, who hasn't really used LinkedIn, what advice would you give them to get started?
My biggest advice would be just start. Don't be afraid. Don't try to perfect it because it'll never be perfect. And the other part is, and I don't mean it in a crude way, don't worry about is this going to offend somebody? If you're being authentic, you're being authentic. Be authentic in your business, be authentic in your personal life. Don't go out there and be ridiculous, but you're not going to go wrong if you're authentic.
I do want to ask you about bravery, because I think bravery plays a big role in being authentic, right? Like, the reality is you posted about one of the worst days in your life. Like at the moment, sure, I know who you are. You're super blue sky. You're motivated. But like anybody getting fired is feeling pretty crappy that day. Mm-hmm. That is not a good day for most people. And, you've sat on it, like you said, for a long time. It's been how many years since that happened?
8
years, right? 8 years. And this was the moment 8 years later that you decided to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. It took 8 years to get there, right? Talk to me. What was it in that moment that allowed you to do that, to make that move?
You know what it was? And I know it. I was sitting there, and this isn't a bragging moment. It's a happy moment. I was sitting beside the pool, house we rented. There was palm trees, which I'm not used to because I don't live there.
Because you're Albertan.
I'm Albertan. It just felt good. And then I knew that day because it's a reminder. And I just thought, you know what? Today's a good day to actually say, hey, this actually happened. So one thing that happened, one post that somebody made on there was the CEO of that company I worked for. And he said, thanks for posting, blah, blah, blah. Right. And I was like, this is kind of weird. And now am I in a conversation with him? And I was. And I said, that me getting fired was the best promotion I never had.
Mm.
And so you're right. That was not a devastating day, but it was like I was going home to my wife with my report card that had a big F on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's right? Not fun. No.
Regardless of, you're right. I am very positive. I know it's all blue sky, right? It's easy to say it is what you make it. but you still have to make it. Yeah, no. And the biggest part was probably going home with no severance, no vehicle. I actually had to phone a friend. They said, we have a taxi coming for you. And I'm like, not going to happen. So I phoned a friend and I got a ride home, and I was dropped on my driveway with a box. But knowing deep down, this is the beginning of the rest of my life, or however you say that, right? Like it's going to be good.
Yeah. And it has
and then
been.
It did, but you're right. It has been, and not like it's all just a bowl of cherries, right? It's what we put into it. But definitely a changing moment, but you're right. I never thought about it. It took me 8 years and I wasn't looking for attention. Yeah. I was like, hey, maybe this can help somebody. And it feels real darn good when the amount of people that have reached out privately and that I don't know, that have said, this is so timely. This is so timely. And I look at their background. I'm like, holy crap. Like they're going through something real thick. And I've said, hey, if you ever want to chat, I don't have the answers, but I can listen. Yeah. Right. And so that meant a lot to me, but that's the power of social. That's the ROI, right? Is if we can just help one person one time, what will that do for the rest of our lives or for the rest of their lives?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So
BJ.
No, I just want to share my personal story, whatever happened with the social media. Even before, Kelly, I was telling you yesterday on the phone, saying things about the stuff we go through is one thing, living is another thing, right? Because it's life, it's real, it's hard, right? Yes. So it's not for everybody. It's super hard. If anyone is listening, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in business, it's extremely hard.
Yeah,
right. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Some days you'll be on the top of the sky. Some days you'll be down the drain. So it's going to be super hard. So you have to navigate the sine wave kind of thing, the ups and downs and ups and downs. It's going to be constant. That being said, social media is one thing where I get to read real stories like this, like Colin's story. I was fascinated by your story, Colin. I loved it. And it's a fantastic story. And it's like, I mean, you went through a struggle and how you came back winning, right? That's a fantastic story. I mean, you should probably write a book.
Probably.
Yeah. And just my personal situation, before coming to Alberta, I knew nobody. Zero. I knew nobody in Edmonton or in Calgary. And it just started. The only thing I started was going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings at the time and started meeting people and things like that. Then I was also limited by the number of people I could meet to. Some were making candles, some were making soap. I love all of them. But although it's also a business, when I was trying to promote the business, I was not a business development guy or a sales or marketing guy. Never. You call this nerd or geek or sitting behind the desk. That's what I was doing for a long time, doing the corporate job and whatnot, right? So sales and development and people skills, I never had it. So I had to learn it. Then I was more people I was meeting. I was kind of stuck. Okay, fine. I should be meeting more people. Then why not talk to more people on the internet? So that's when Pathfinders happened, I think. And I started connecting from people from Silicon Valley to Germany to Hong Kong, all over across the board, right? And that kind of built its own momentum. I never thought about it that way. I was just having a conversation. But I think the larger message that I'm personally feeling is a lesson of self-discovery. All right. I think when you're building your business, there is self-discovery. And when you discover yourself and you put yourself out there with good intention, the only thing that can happen is good back to you. So start with when you discover yourself, you will have the right thing to say. That's what I'm learning. And you'll be able to connect with more people across the world. And I think there's a lot in common and there's a lot of common ground across the world than there is not. So that's what I'm learning.
I absolutely love it. And I'll just end off by saying, if you haven't ventured into social media yet, you likely have some fears about it. It's the job that nobody signed up for. I like to say it's the job. Every entrepreneur starts a business. And they don't realize when they start a business, they're also becoming a social media influencer. And they didn't realize it, right? And suddenly you realize, holy cow, in order to play in the sandbox in the 21st century, we have to be participating in social media. And so usually they find that out and they're like, crap, I'm already providing my service, but now I have to participate. My only advice would be, listen, just if you haven't dipped your toe in, start dipping your toe in. You're likely an expert in something. And I teach this on the BDP. Very likely, if you're coming to the BDP, you're an expert in something, right? Educate and inspire, right? The whole premise of the Business Development Podcast is to educate and inspire the next generation. Yeah. Do the same. You're an expert in whatever you're an expert in. This could be your passion. This could be the thing you do for fun. This could be your job, but you are an expert in something. Hop on social media, start posting about those things, start educating, inspiring, teach people the amazing things you know that they don't know. You will be surprised at how many people reach out and thank you for your efforts. So I would just say, look, if you haven't dipped your toe in, figure out what you're an expert in, start sharing that knowledge with people, and just keep at it. It won't be long. You'll be participating with the rest of us, and you will be helping the world. And I think if you look at social media from that standpoint, how do I help the world? You're going to be on the right path.
Okay, can I say one last
100%.
thing before we close? I think not many social media has this button. LinkedIn has this button called connect. Genuinely connect with people. I think that takes a business a long way. Most of the other social media has like follow and other kind of like buttons, right? Only LinkedIn has the connect button. That doesn't mean you cannot connect on other platforms, but the message is to go connect with people. And I think that will take the business forward. Not the idea, not the concept. You could be great at your marketing. No, just go meet with people and connect with them. And that will take your business like 10 times faster. Yeah. That's what I'm learning.
I had an interview 100%. Once. I'm going to end it by saying I had an interview once with a really smart guy named Marcus Chan. If you guys ever have a chance to see it, he has a book called 6-Figure Sales Secrets. It's awesome. Highly recommend it. But Marcus Chan has this saying, and he says, give away 90, sell 10. And I love it. I love that. I think that is the motto for the new world. You are expert in something, give away 90, somebody will pay you for the 10.
Decent.
Love it.
All right. That takes us to the end of 15, guys. Once again, congratulations. It's no small feat. 15, we're clipping along. It's been incredible. Thanks for joining me on this journey.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Later, hustlers.